The Oklahoma Business Show is proudly sponsored by Your IT. Visit yourit.com to learn more about our services and schedule a chat to find out how we can help you. That's yourit.com. You deserve better IT.
I'm Chris Mraz, and welcome to the Oklahoma Business Show, where we speak with business owners and leaders about their struggles, successes, and things they've learned along the way. Welcome back, everybody, to the Oklahoma Business Show. I'm Chris Mraz, and today I'm joined by the fantastic Dan Hillenbrand. Dan is the owner of Spring Green Lawn Care of Oklahoma City. Majestic Pool and Spa Service, and along with his wife, Candace, the Olie Gathering Place.
That's correct.
Yeah, awesome. So, Dan, as I always do, why don't you kick us off a little bit with a better bio than I'm able to do?
Okay. Yeah, sure. I'll do some quick bullet points just to kind of oversee the last 45 years. So I grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada. That was one thing that most people don't know. I joined the Army right out of high school and was stationed down at Fort Sill for almost 3 years. That is actually where I met Candace about 6 months before I got out. So I decided to stay in Oklahoma. We got a degree at USAO in Chickasha, our bachelor's degree from there, and then moved to Colorado Springs for a year, and then moved back to Oklahoma City. So I've been in Oklahoma City now since 2007. Sorry, 2007 is when we came back. So been in Oklahoma City for a while, and from when we got back to Oklahoma City, I managed Scott's Lawn Service, was probably my longest tenure. Very similar business to Spring Green. As a national company, they were bought out by True Green back in 2016, and that's when I started to look for other things, whether it was another national company to work for and stay here locally. And that's when I stumbled upon a Spring Green franchise for sale in the Edmond area, and I jumped all over it. So
awesome. And while you're approaching 8 years of Spring Green, is that right?
That's correct, yes.
That's not the first company that you've really owned and managed, though, right? Didn't you own a smaller one or start up a smaller one before that?
Correct. So I did, while I was in college in Chickasha, I was getting paid the GI Bill and going to school 15 to 18 credit hours a semester. I did start a small Hillenbrand, I don't even remember what it was called, Hillenbrand Landscape. So we did just normal maintenance and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I got started in the green industry was the way most people do if they do start in the green industry, starting off mowing, and then just kind of grew from that. And then when I got to Scott's Lawn Services, when we strictly focused on the weed control and fertilization side of lawn care.
Okay. And so that journey from, you're going to college and you're doing that work and owning the company, doing full maintenance and lawn care and everything. In Colorado, what did you do in Colorado? Similar?
So actually, when I moved there, that was actually the first start. I actually worked for a Scott's Lawn Service franchise in Colorado Springs. Okay. So that's what got me into just focusing on the niche part of the green industry of just the weed control and fertilization side of things. So when I got back to Oklahoma City, that's when I jumped around to a few landscape companies for a year when I got back. And then I found Scott's Lawn Service here and started off as just a sales rep, a sales manager. And then I was there for 9 years. So started off as a sales manager, quickly became the service manager, a couple of years later, the branch manager, and then finally the general manager a year or two before they were bought out by True Green.
Okay. A lot of times when there's acquisitions, those go fantastic. They go mediocre. There's culture change. A lot of people have been a part of that. Just curious, not a ton of detail, but just kind of curious, what was your experience of that? Is it something that, was new to you or that you had a lot of expectations, or what was that like?
It was new to me at the time. It is not new to me anymore. I've actually gone through it a couple times now. Okay. But yes, so it was very new to me at that point. So, but both sides, both the Scott's Lawn Service side and the True Green side, were very cognizant of what I wanted and what I didn't want. And we worked a program to make sure that we were both satisfied at the end of the day. And it happened to work out perfectly for me. So yeah, there was no ill feelings during that one. It was real interesting because we got bought out by True Green 2016. And then I actually went to a lawn service out of Tulsa. I was helping them with their Oklahoma City branch. And I think literally 7 days after I started, they were bought out by somebody else. So I had that to trigger for a while. But all in all those transitions worked out. There's always going to be, ebb and flows with any of that type of stuff. Yeah. But in the end, it definitely worked in my favor for what I'm doing now.
That's awesome. A lot of people, when they're trying to start up a business, they think, okay, is this something that I'm really good at doing this job and I want to turn it into my own business or career. A lot of people are looking because they know they want to own a business. Mm-hmm. Having already started up a company, mm-hmm. What was that decision like of going with a franchise model versus going out on your own again? That's a great question.
I get that question a lot. So for me, where I was at with our family, my wife works full time and she has supported me through the purchase of the Spring Green franchise and has done well with that. But moving into the franchising system, the reason I went that way is because, one, I made really, really good money at Scott's Lawn Service. They treated me very, very well. So I couldn't leave there and start from scratch and make zero money for a period of time. And I also couldn't afford $1 million business. So this size franchise that I purchased was the perfect size. I was able to work with Arvest Bank here locally to work with me on an SBA loan. I did cash out my 401k from Scott's Lawn Service to put my side of the down payment down. And I was at least able during that first year. It was a lot less money than I was used to, but I was at least able to bring something home while my wife carried the bulk of the load to kind of keep the family and household running exceptionally so. But yes, and then we've just kind of grown from there. But the franchise model compared to doing it myself, obviously there's a royalty, there's a franchise fee, there's all those things. But really what I get out of the franchise compared to doing it on my own is just I've got 85 other franchise owners that if they are doing something better than I'm doing, I can reach out to that guy and say, hey, how are you doing this? What are you doing to make this better? It doesn't matter what it is, AR, sales, whatever it is that they're good at. I can reach out to them and know that they have my best interest at heart instead of trying to go to a local competitor and, hey, what are you doing? They're very hesitant to, although I am great friends with a ton of green industry folks, it's hard to find those individuals that will be open and honest with you about what they're doing to grow their businesses. I feel that there's always enough food out there for all of us, and we don't need to be fighting over it. But you'll find some people that hold close to the vest when it comes to some of their business practices. So. Yeah. I think you mentioned before also that marketing is an area that the franchise helps out with. Marketing is something for anyone who's ever tried to run a business is significant, but it's challenging if you don't know what you're doing. Yes. Is that still true that they've been able to provide a lot of support for that? Correct. Yeah. So that's another huge component of the franchise facility. I obviously pay for my direct mail or any type of digital services that we utilize, but they have a story or basically KPIs to run, and we can manage all of that stuff. So the marketing is a great side of things. And really the other big part of owning a franchise compared to doing it on your own is they have all those systems and operating procedures in place already. They've got the KPIs. I don't have to make all that stuff. So if I wanted to work 100 hours a week, I could definitely do it and run my own business. But I also had young kids and a wife I wanted to keep happy. And so I definitely did not want to work 100 hours a week. I work now probably 50 hours a week on an average week, and I'm okay with that. Everyone's okay with that. We're still able to do everything, but I don't think that that's an overload. But if I was doing SEO and, having to worry about direct mail marketing and all the other things, what the website looks like, that's a lot more time and commitment than I want to put into my day to day. Yeah. But I also know that you have still done some of your own marketing. For sure. Some videos and some stuff. Was that a gap that you saw that you wanted to fill, or just something you wanted to do because you thought it was going to be good marketing? No, I've always seen it as something that is very beneficial. So I was a lot more hands-on when I first started. We've dialed down some of the local marketing here as in the last year or two, just with how big we've gotten, how busy we've gotten. But yes, I've always thought it was a a niche that was missing in our industry, especially in the Oklahoma City market. If you look out and you Google lawn care in Oklahoma City, there's us for sure at the top, and there's probably 2 other local competitors that are just as good as we are, that are doing everything. But then there's a huge gap between us 3 and everyone else. And 95% of the guys that are in the green industry don't focus on that, and that's a big mistake, I think, on their part, because everyone buys by reviews now. Everyone searches. Everyone's got a phone in their pocket to be able to search anything that they want anytime they want. So we always want to make sure we're putting out the good marketing so our organic leads are working correctly and doing all the things we wanted to do.
Yeah.
So
most companies, to achieve what you've achieved in 7 or 8 years, that's rare. That doesn't happen a lot, to have your growth that you've had.
Yes.
When you look back, looking back at that, anything specific that you're really proud of that you've accomplished, or anything that just kind of stands out that's helped you get that sort of achievement?
We definitely have grown quicker than most. I'm in a franchise system that, again, has 85 different franchise owners. And we divide them into peer groups by region generally. And one of my biggest things was, when I started, there's 10 guys in the region, and I was the bottom guy in the group 7.5 years ago. I just enjoyed watching myself climb to the top. And now, we're producing, guys that have been in this system for 30 years. I'm doing 4 times as much revenue as they are. So yes, I'm very proud of that fact. I don't know that I did anything special, except just with the knowledge of, having the on the job criteria with Scott's Lawn Service, being able to work in every aspect of the business and see, how we grew that. Actually, one of my biggest accomplishments happened this year when I compare myself to Scott's Lawn Service. Is, I managed that for 9 years in Oklahoma City, and we grew. I think we doubled in size in that 9 years that I was there. And that was during the 2008 recession and everything else, and going through all that. In 7 years of owning this and starting really almost from scratch, having enough revenue for 1 truck when we bought it, I am now bigger than I was at Scott's Lawn Service 7 years ago. So
that's amazing.
Yeah. So it's a lot of
amazing.
Fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think people, other business owners are going to recognize what that means, but people who have never worked aren't going to do that. That's incredible.
Yeah. It's what I've envisioned. You can talk to my business consultants in Chicago from Spring Green, and they're all the same guys that I was there. I told them from the get-go I was going to be the biggest guy, that they've seen come through, and they've all seen those type of guys. Like, okay, we'll see what happens. And really, again, out of the 85 other franchise owners, there are some guys bigger than me, but no one has done it as fast as I have.
That's amazing.
So,
do you attribute a lot of that to, and obviously there's a massive combination of things. There's not even 3, 4, 5 things, but the peer group sounds like it was pretty influential.
For sure.
The experience you had from Scott's was pretty influential. Personal drive, just knowing you, that there's a lot of personal drive there. Sure. Anything else that you feel really contributed to that achievement?
Man, I think one of the biggest things that I always go back to is just consistency. Consistency in everything that you do, whether that's, waking up in the morning at the same time, everything is, I'm very consistent. I don't take days off. If I'm on vacation, I'm on vacation, but I'm very, very consistent. So showing up every day, and that's what we try to implement with our team, is just that consistency factor. So if you can stay on top of it and just stay consistent with everything, it's not just 2 or 3 things. It's everything. There's a lot of balls being juggled all day long, and you just got to be consistent with juggling those balls and keeping them in the air. So that's probably the biggest thing I can say to that for sure. And
I love that. Obviously, if you don't know me or you can't really see, I don't work out a whole lot. So I'm not a super fit guy, but when you hear people, I did just start running. And when you get into anything athletic, that's the biggest thing to say is consistency. I don't think we translate that a lot to business life. Obviously, we hear things about documentation or processes, but I don't think consistency is really a word that's thrown out there a lot. So
I agree.
I'm glad you shared that. I mean, all those other things are great tools and resources to kind of gauge yourself on how you're going, but that consistency is how you get there.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah. Those are your takeaways for today. I think we're done probably.
Let's go have lunch. All right.
Now, changing gears a little bit, in addition to Spring Green, you and your wife own the Olie
Gathering Place.
Gathering
Yes,
Place.
that's correct.
Tell me about that. How did that come about?
So again, most of the things that I've, again, even with Spring Green and the Olie, things have just kind of fell into place somehow, somewhere. So there's a couple commercial real estate websites out there that I have some search engines on that that fit a certain criteria, right? For Spring Green, for my growth at Spring Green. I don't want to rent for the rest of my life. I'd eventually like to own my own facility and build it out the way I want it and everything else. So for the past for the past 6 years, I've been on this website, and occasionally I'll get emailed once a week, once a month, depending on something coming in from my criteria. This building came in after I've been on that website for 2 or 3 years, and I clicked on the link like I do every one of them, and did my due diligence, looked at it. Oh, that's kind of cool. I'll pull that back up here in a couple of days. And actually, the real estate agent called me the next day and said, "Hey, I saw that you clicked on this. Would you be interested in taking a look at it?" And again, I'd been on the site for 3 years and clicked on websites for 3 years, and no one has ever called me. So not just did I not like the building, but I really wanted to meet this guy. Yeah. Like, who is this guy? Because I'm always intrigued by people and what they can do and what they bring to their life, and how can they help me later down the road. He's obviously very consistent because he was calling me the next day. So one, I wanted to meet him, but two, the building was really cool. So I thought it would be a cool Airbnb. That's where my head was going when I saw it. And I showed my wife. She was like, "Oh, that's a cool building. We're never going to buy it, but we'll go take a look at it." Sure. So, and she walked into the space with me and Paul the first time and was like, "This is an event space. This is not an Airbnb," which is 100 times smarter than where I was going with it. So it didn't have a bath. It didn't have a conventional bathroom, shower, stuff like that. So we didn't have a full kitchen. It was basically an empty shell of a building. So it was a perfect spot for a event space. So it was all her idea. And then we ran, our business plan. She did all that. She's very, very thorough with stuff like that. And we kind of had an idea of, if we do it by her business plan, if we can do 4 to 5 events a month, we can at least cover ourselves, and let's at least try it. So we put in an offer. They accepted our offer. We bought it, and we've done that. We purchased the building, and we've put a ton of stuff in there. And now we're probably doing 4 to 5 events per week when we had planned to do 4 to 5 a month. So yes, that is run mainly by our admin, customer service admin. She works part-time for us, handling 99% of the communications and setups and stuff like that. So, for the first 6 months, Candace and I were running it. It was just us, right? Yeah. Just like any business, you kind of start from the ground up, and then it took us 6, 7, 8 months to kind of find the right people in place. And for the past 3 years, 2.5, 3 years, we've got the right people in place. And again, that's probably another business that I don't touch a lot of, because we have the right people in place doing the right things. And it's a fun facility. If you've ever been there, it's a great spot. You can do anything from first birthdays. We have bridal showers to full-on weddings. We've had, I would say, at least 4 dozen weddings there. So again, it's a very small venue. So we generally limit it to 50 people inside. We could probably have a guest list of 75, 80 comfortably if you had the indoors and the outdoors. But it's a great facility, great building. I absolutely love the building. And you've probably driven by the building 1,000 times, and until you actually know it's there. It's one of those buildings that hides, and then as soon as you know where it's at, you see it every time. But it's a great little building right near 23rd and Western.
Yeah, and it's amazing. So I went to an event or two there before I knew that you were even involved with it. used to be a transformer station.
Correct.
Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah. Really, really cool building.
Yeah, I believe the story is real quick. It's just, and again, this is just hearsay. What I've heard and seen a little bit of is the building was built in 1911, had a generator in it, and it powered all of Northwest Oklahoma City when it was in implementation from 1911, and I believe it was decommissioned in 1945. And then the individual that we bought it from owned the building for at least 30 years. Oh, wow. And didn't do anything for 25 of that years. And then the last 5 years, he got a bunch of grants and stuff like that to actually make it functional and make it a living office space. And they did all the hard work, the wiring, the AC, the flooring, made everything the code, did all the hard work. Nice. We ended up purchasing it a year after COVID. I believe it was a yoga studio when it was being ran the couple of years before that. Obviously, COVID did a detrimental effect on that, and they ended up wanting to sell it, and we purchased it in February of 21. And I think our first event was May of 21. So it's been 3.5 years now of us running events out of that.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Now, for most people, a couple of businesses is good enough. but you're like, no, let me do another one. And so 2 years ago, about 2 years ago.
Yes, correct.
You started Majestic Pools and Spas.
Correct.
Spa service.
Yes, that's correct.
So I'm always curious whenever I hear business owners who have multiple businesses, just because I can barely handle my one.
Yes.
Just kind of walk me through a little bit about what was that conversation like with yourself, with your family?
Yeah. So basically what, the way that came down again, that is something that, was owned by a friend of mine for 3 years. And he was in oil and gas, got let go, found this opportunity, bought it, ran it for 3 years. And, he was actually subleasing from me. He had one truck, that he had and some chemicals and stuff like that. So he needed a place to store that, just not in his house anymore. So we were really good friends, and he got a job offer to go back to work and just wanted to unload the business. So again, it just happened to be, and I knew I'm a people person. I want to know people. So I actually would not have bought this business if I didn't have my pool manager, John Abbott, is the one. He's worked for me back in my Scott's Lawn Service days. He helped me start Spring Green. He helped me fix the Olie up. We both knew nothing about pools 2.5 years ago. And he knows now everything he needs to know about pools and maintenance and keeping that stuff going. So if I didn't have John around, I wouldn't have entertained the idea. But with it also being a home service business, I feel very comfortable in that field with the customer service side. And again, it's a lot about consistency and just showing up when you say you're going to show up. You know, if you're a Monday schedule, we got to be there every Monday, those sort of things. So it's a little bit different than the weed control fertilization side, because we come out 7 times a year for that, where we're coming out every week for your pool. For those customers. So again, very similar, but a similar technician type of pool service guys are going to be the same as similar to our lawn technicians. In fact, there's been a lot of synergy there between the two businesses. The pool maintenance guy that we have now was a Spring Green employee for a year and a half, I think, before that. So again, having an avenue to train guys and get to know them and see their work ethic and really know where they want to go, I can help try to, help them grow as well. So that's why the people thing, like the Paul Stuckey with the real estate guy, the John Abbott, are all great individuals that I want to hold on to tight, because they do great things. And again, they've got that consistency factor, and they're going above and beyond what everybody else is doing.
That's amazing. And I was curious, I thought in my head, without any knowledge, it makes sense that those type of residential services, I know you also do some commercial stuff, but those type of residential services are going to have a little bit of crossover and a little bit of similarities. Would you have, do you think, taken on Majestic if you hadn't already had that experience with Spring Green and knew that customer a bit?
That's a great question. I don't know. I've always been an entrepreneur at heart, even from being a kid. So I'm sure I would have tried to dive into something. Yeah. I just don't know that would have been it. But again, even when I was with Scott's Lawn Service, again, that home service side of things, I feel very comfortable in that setting. So I feel I do a good job with the customer service side of things. And again, that consistency factor and training my guys on the consistency and doing what you say you're going to do and all of those things. So that's a good question. Generally, the businesses I do look for are generally in the home service field because I do feel pretty comfortable with that. So.
Have you had any cross-marketing success?
We have.
So that being clients who are current Spring Green or were current Majestic and offering them those opposite services.
Correct. There has been a little bit. So again, with the pool side, we take care of 75 customers, but again, we're taking care of them every single week. Yeah. So with the Spring Green side, we have 4,400 customers where we're taking care of them 7 times a year. So we need a whole lot more guys on that side of the fence. But it's a different strategy when you're going out, especially on the operations side, when you're going from a weekly maintenance to a every 5 to 7 week type of maintenance program. So you have a little bit more leeway on the lawn side because there is that gap of services. But again, the consistency on that pool side, you've got to be out there every Monday or every Thursday or whatever it is that they want because Miss Jones wants to see you on that day.
I know you mentioned you have a team that runs a lot of the Majestic and you're not investing an immense amount of time in that now. I imagine early on you were to some degree.
Actually, I didn't. I mean, John took the lead on everything. That's why he was working for me part-time, getting the Olie squared away in 2021. Okay. And then in April of 22 is when this opportunity came to me. And we were pretty much done doing things with the Olie, but I didn't want to lose that relationship with John. So that's when we had the conversation of he didn't want to go back to the Spring Green side and just become another technician. He was really a little bit above that at that point, and I really wanted to find something. And again, everything just kind of lined up to where this was ending. He was still wanting to work with me because we had a great relationship, and this opportunity came. I pay him very well to run it, so I don't have to worry about it. So he, again, handles 98% of the brunt of everything. And I'm there to kind of facilitate some of the back end measures, the invoicing, the having all the systems in place for our texting and phone services and all of those things. But he is the face of the company. He runs it. Everyone knows it's John coming out there and everything else. So if I didn't have all those pieces in place, I definitely wouldn't have jumped at it. I've a lot of my strategy and whether it's day-to-day life in Spring Green or Majestic or the Olie Gathering Place, I think every little move I make is like playing chess. I'm playing chess all day long. I'll make this move and we'll have an effect on that move, and I'll have to continually kind of move all over the game piece to kind of make things work to my advantage. So it's fun, but it's also very taxing at times. Yeah. So
that strategy, a lot of people, they have their 1-year strategy. Mm-hmm. They're unable to adapt quickly. I'm sure you've come across people that are doing that, have that limitation, we'll call it. So chess obviously is all about planning, but proper reaction. Mm-hmm. So how do you go about thinking that way? I've never heard anyone really talk about business in that sense, although it very much is now that you've said that. Yeah. So is that just kind of a way that you came across thinking about it? Did you hear that somewhere? That's very interesting.
No, it all came to me. I don't know that I heard it from anywhere. Again, I listen to so many things. I'm sure it might have come in osmosis of some sort. But yeah, I just think, even when it comes down to hiring folks and, hiring the right individuals, but also, if I do this, what is that going to do to the rest of the team and or our revenue? Are we going to get too far ahead? Are we going to, play catch up? Where are we at in everything that we do? So always trying to make sure that we're always thinking ahead to the next step. What's going on the next round? Where are we at? Do we have the personnel for it? What does that look like? The good thing about the recurring business side of things, that recurring revenue side of things, like in the lawn care and the maintenance side of things, is you have fairly consistent numbers. You're not going to have We're not running on, $1 million contracts here where 1 year we have it, 1 year we don't. It's that recurring revenue home service industry is fairly consistent, where you're not going to have huge ebb and flows. Yes, you'll have down years and up years, but it's not going to be drastically different. So just making sure you're putting the right people in place, and because every decision you make, whether there's been a few things that we've had to let go of some personnel, and how's that going to affect the morale of the company or how things are going. So yeah, I don't know where the chess game came to me, but it definitely it does feel every time I make a move, I'm looking out to what's going to happen because of that move, and then what's my next move after that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I like that a lot, and it sounds to me not only is it planning ahead and thinking about those options, but also what are some possible negative consequences and how might we be prepared to respond to those.
Correct.
And what adjustments that we might need to make.
Correct.
And do you do that kind of thought process with your team, or is that something you mainly kind of focus on and think through?
So for a long time, it was just me, right? You're always the lone man at the top, but we've started implementing a couple EOS L10 meeting type of strategies for my management team on the Spring Green side, and that has brought a huge light. I want to say it's almost been a year since we've been doing these L10 meetings, and that's just a way to allow us to dive deeper into what's really going on, because I can't see everything. So I've got my office manager in there. I've got my operations manager in there. I've got our trainer in there, our technician trainer. So it allows me to kind of see, and what that brought to light is a lot of training irregularities. We didn't have the consistency at that point. So now I would tell you our training for our lawn technicians is extremely consistent. We have a plan in place, and this is what we do. This is the first week. This is the second week. This is what we do at 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. So there's continual education for these guys, and we have a structure in place that it's easy enough to stay consistent with. So before that, it was a free for all. So
which is common. I mean,
yes, for sure.
Any business, even thinking back to any job I had, it's, here's the employee manual, which doesn't tell you how to do the job. It just tells you the rules. Yeah. And then maybe you're going to shadow someone for a while. How many of your employees, your technicians, were technicians before they came work for you?
Very few.
Very few.
Very few.
I was curious if you had to break habits and retrain your way, or if you have the ability most of the time to get them going how you want them from the get-go.
Yeah, so I would prefer not to hire someone who's been doing it before. Okay. But again, there are an occasional handful. Like I said, I think I've got two guys. In fact, my service manager, Cameron, came to me with some experience. Whose main experience was in the pest control side of things, okay. But that same license for the pest control side will fall under the same guidance as the lawn care side, unless you're going inside. That's a different category, which we do have as well. But he came to me with that, and he was one of the rare folks. I've got one other guy, Cody, that came to me with that. I'd worked for True Green for 5-6 months, and he's done extremely, extremely well, but it's pretty rare. Usually if they're coming from a competitor of some sort, it doesn't last very long. So it's just, and I don't know if there's just, things in there, the way they were taught that we do things differently, or if it's just the way things are managed. So
I am going to guess, obviously I have no idea, but knowing earlier your comment of where your company is versus others, you have consistency, you have strategy, you probably expect more than they want to put in.
Yes.
Not that any employees ever fallen under that category, but
yes. That is 100% correct.
Interesting. So I know you don't spend 30 minutes on each three of these companies, but you do have oversight, you do have communications. Are there any tools or methods that you have implemented over the years to help you manage that time, to help you manage just your tasks? That's a common thing I run into people who really struggle with that.
There's some great tools. Probably my favorite tool, and anyone who knows me personally, my wife, anybody, close friends, close colleagues will tell you my Google Calendar is absolutely insane. Yeah. So I don't utilize my Google Calendar just for appointments like this today. It literally has everything on it. To-do lists, and it's all color coded by by company,
Okay.
And who's in charge of that task. So it's generally just me touching base on that task was completed and it's done. But if you look at my calendar, most people go insane because it looks like just a collage of just someone throwing paint splatter at the wall. So, but that's probably the biggest thing. And then there's tons of great implementation tools. Our voiceover phone system works. That same app works for all three businesses. So our texting suite that we utilize can be on the phone or on a desktop. So, and that is on all three platforms. That same company runs all three businesses. So for me, all I have to do is trigger to each one and see what's going on, where the person who's in charge of that just sees whatever the business they're working on, right? So my Spring Green customer service aren't working on the Olie stuff or the Majestic pool stuff. They're focused on their stuff, but I have the ability on the back end to look at everything that's going on all of those different things. So if I need to make a phone call to you and I'm Majestic right now, then I can call you from my Majestic phone, still using my cell phone to be able to do that. So it can get a little taxing for me because I've got to toggle through each. So I'll occasionally call a customer on the Majestic line for Spring Green, but it's very, very, very rare. So I'm usually pretty good at that stuff. But yeah, so again, just having the mindset of all of those tools.
We're going to get back to technology in a little bit. We don't spend a lot of time on technology, but obviously going to talk about it a little bit.
Absolutely.
But one thing I love to hear about is, introspective and looking back. If you were to do any of these things again, is there something that you've done different? Or maybe is there something that you identified with Spring Green that you did do different with some of these other ones? But is there anything that looking back, you like, not regret, but just, that would be good to have done a little bit differently?
That's a good question. I generally don't tend to look backwards. I'm generally always looking forward. Obviously we have to reminisce on some things, on something went bad, something went really good, and looking back on stuff like that. But I don't pay too much attention to the rear view. Yeah. I try to, whether it's a correction or whatever the case is, if we're not hitting our goals like we would, what are we going to do going forward? Yes, we can lament about what happened, but we need to change direction. We need everyone's favorite word to pivot, and we need to, we need to be going back and figuring out what we did wrong and just focusing on that next step.
I love that. There's so many people only focus on the past. Mm-hmm. I love hearing that. That's the best. That may be the best answer ever.
I appreciate that.
So, going back to technology, just a couple more questions here, but you may have already answered it, but any other technology or maybe the key piece, it sounds like Google Calendar. So we're going to remove that. What else maybe is essential that you really couldn't live without, whether it's business or personal related?
I know you asked this question to everyone, what they can't live without.
He was cheating.
Everyone talks about their phone. Yeah. And again, I don't think I could live without my phone, but I had this thought this morning that the hotspot technology has been huge for me, just in the aspect of I do so much driving around, and I am the age where I can do some things on a phone, and I don't want to do some things I want to do it on a desktop. Yeah. So I've got the desktop mode, I've got the iPhone mode. I don't want to send an email on my phone. I want to send an email so I can type it all out. I don't want to send anything long. I'll send a quick text on my phone, but if it's anything that's going to be a paragraph long, I want to do that on a desktop. So the hotspot technology allows me to literally, if you've been in Edmond, if you drive anywhere in Edmond at all, the train situation is always a pain. So actually this morning I was stopped at a train site for 5 minutes. And I was literally parked and, the train wasn't moving, everything, but I was blocked in. And so I was able to get my laptop out, put my hotspot on my phone, send out 2 emails real quick, and then train still isn't moving. And I was able to get back and do my thing. But I was able to do that while, managing. I'm not in an office. So I was able to knock those things out. So the hotspot technology has been huge for me, and I can go to any coffee shop and I don't have to worry about their Wi-Fi or anything like that. I've got my own there. So that's probably the biggest thing that I use, just because I travel so much and I'm not in my office all day long. So, and I prefer that.
Yeah, very nice. Another original answer.
Yes, I try. When you're when you listen to every episode, you've got to make sure you don't want to say the same answer as everybody else.
Yeah, I should have brought you an award for.
That's right.
We'll send you a gold star you can put on your shirt later. So if someone would like to connect with you or learn more about the businesses, what's the best way to get in touch with you or to learn about those individual businesses? I
think probably the easiest way is to get me is just through LinkedIn, and Dan Hillenbrand is my tag there. So Dan Hillenbrand on LinkedIn is probably the best spot. And then, depending on how the conversation goes, because we have the 3 entities and stuff like that, depending on what their interest is, that we can obviously guide them in the right direction. So
perfect. We'll put a link to your LinkedIn in the show notes, along with links to the 3 websites.
Okay, perfect.
So everyone can check that out. Any last thoughts before we part ways today? This has been fantastic. Thank you.
No, I've also enjoyed it. So I've enjoyed, like I said, all the previous episodes. Most of the folks that you've talked to in the past, I know personally. So it's good to see, my other business colleagues out there talking about Oklahoma businesses. So I enjoy it greatly. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks for making time. Appreciate it. With that, we will say goodbye and see you next time, whatever that may be.
Thanks again.
The Oklahoma Business Show is proudly sponsored by Your IT, managed IT services and cybersecurity for Oklahoma businesses. Are you a business leader who's frustrated with your current technology, worried about cyber threats, and too damn busy to handle it yourself? Your IT makes IT easy, with clear and transparent pricing and the ability to customize services to fit your unique business needs. Visit yourit.com to learn more about our services and schedule a chat to find out how we can help you. That's yourit.com. You deserve better IT.